Lisa, hi Gillian, hello Facebook, hi YouTube, nice to see you all. I hope everyone has had a very jolly Jubilee break. I was getting messages from people saying happy platyjubes. I'm thinking, platyjubes? What are you talking about? Platyjubes? And apparently that was a thing. Platinum Jubilee. So there we go. Still got my nails. Who else got into the spirit? Lots of chit chat on my Instagram stories over on Liz Earle Me. I went to a village street party. I dressed in red, white and blue. Did a special Jubilee lunch for family and friends. Everything was British. So actually I haven't put those pictures up on stories yet, so I must do that. Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Julienne, my friend. Do you like my nails? Haven't taken them off yet. I might keep them on for a bit. Quite like them. I keep forgetting I've got them on, you know, and you catch sight of them and you think, oh my goodness, what is that? Anyway, I hope everybody has had a lovely, lovely long weekend if you're watching me here in the UK. Now, I was just saying to our friends on Instagram that we are in for a real treat today because we're going to talk about something that I have been fascinated in for quite a while now, and that's the microbiome, but not as you know it. We're not talking about the gut and gut health, although I'm sure that will be in their conversation somewhere. We're actually talking about the topical microbiome of the skin, and how our skincare choices and how we treat our skin really affects that, and the good gut bugs that live on the skin and how important they are in terms of inflammation, aging well, skin issues. And I'm going to be joined by a fab founder, skincare brand founder of this brilliant brand called Essie. And we do have a Liz Loves, by the way, just before you ask. So Essie, if you want to check it out, it's essieskincare.co.uk. That's ESSE, if you want to go and have a quick little peek before we get into the chat. And Liz Loves, all in capitals and all one word, gets you 15% off everything we talk about. And I think you're going to be very fascinated indeed. And just to give you a little bit of background here before we get started in this, my fascination with gut health began many, many years ago. So one of the books, one of the 35 or so books that I've written, is called The Good Gut Guide. And this was actually one of the first consumer books all about gut health. And I wrote this because every medical expert that I was talking to here at Earle Wellbeing, whether it was about mental health and the brain, whether it was about pain, inflammation pathways, chronic disease, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, obviously digestive issues, skin, dermatologists, the whole works, everybody that I spoke to really said, well, of course, it all starts in the gut. So I started to research the gut, and I wrote the Good Gut Guide, which has a 6-week plan if you're interested in helping to rebalance and rejuvenate the gut. Sorry, my lights are going a bit off and on here. I'm trying to get some stability here. Hopefully that's okay, but I think you can see me anyway. But of course what we say is much more important than what we look like. So anyway, so that's my own journey into gut health. So I spent a long time researching it. Thank you, Julianne. Julianne's just commented on Instagram saying, excellent book. And yeah, if you want to know more about the microbiome in general, then it is quite a good starting point. It's got some great recipes in there as well. Okay, so Essie Skincare, I can see that you have put in a note to join me, so hopefully we will connect, and we'll connect with Trevor in just a moment. And hi Trevor.
Hi Liz, how are you going?
I'm very well, thank you. Whereabouts are you talking to us from?
Durban in South Africa.
Oh, so, nice.
Weather at this time of year is boring, yes, and sunny with no wind. Perfect surf most days.
Great. And you're what? You're a couple of hours ahead of us, I think, aren't you, here in the UK?
Yeah.
Because my family, a lot of my family are in Kenya, which is similar. We're on the same kind of time zone. So we've got a lot of friends down that way. Well, thank you very much for being part of this live today. Before we get into the ins and outs of Essie Skincare, can you give us a little bit of background biog on you and how you got involved with all of this?
So, I mean, I come from a research chemistry background, originally in pharmaceutical drug discovery, lost faith in that process a little and decided to head out on my own. Yeah, I don't think if you'd told me as a 20-year-old that I would have ended up in skincare, I might have been somewhat surprised. Yeah.
Bit of a journey. And what came first for you? Was it skin or was it the gut?
No, definitely skin. My line of research was in new pharmaceuticals from African plants. And we, in this small province that we're in, we're sitting on an enormous chunk of the world's plant biodiversity. So there are a lot of new targets. South Africa's second only to Brazil in our plant biodiversity. So,
really? Oh my goodness! I need to come. I need to come visit.
Definitely. It's. I mean, you know what Kenya's like. It's a little bit of a crossover between first and third world. It's quite interesting generally.
Yeah, no, fascinating. And the different plants, the different species. I was looking at, I think it's something, got a rather bizarre name, Sodom apple. I don't know whether you have that down in South Africa, but that's amazing on the skin for sort of like warts and solar keratosis for early non-malignant skin cancer. Really fascinating plant. And I mean there are literally hundreds of options. So I kind of started the company thinking mostly along those lines. We were certified organic, and in 2002 when it was still a bit of a differentiator. I guess it was around 2010 when the Human Microbiome Project findings started coming through in the scientific literature. And I guess at that point I realized that the chances of single chemicals offering a full solution weren't great. And I had to retool myself quite sharply as a microbiologist cross chemist. So, I think that's a really interesting point to make, actually, and I think you're probably very well placed to explain that, having a background in pharmaceuticals and now moving into natural botanicals. When you are creating a pharmaceutical product, a pharmaceutical drug, you patent it, obviously, because that's how you get your money back, isn't it, from all the R&D that, cost a lot of money to get medical licenses and things, which means that you usually just take kind of a one isolated chemical bit of the plant rather than the whole plant. Is that right?
Definitely. So I think, just as an analogy, it's worth thinking through. And I mean, I logged 8 years of my life, skilling up in chemistry. The chances of a single molecule having a beneficial effect on an entire ecosystem, they're quite small. You can certainly have short-term beneficial effects, but long-term beneficial effects are generally troublesome. And we kind of saw this in the better living through chemistry years of the 70s and 80s and 90s even, when you had these single molecules applied to a complex ecosystem like a rainforest, perhaps, like DDT. You go, we would like, the mosquitoes out of here to prevent malaria.
Yeah.
And spray with DDT and it works. But perhaps in the long term, we're not entirely happy with the net result. It turns into a long-term health issue for people and the ecosystem.
Yeah.
Same's true on skin. You have thousands of species from hundreds of thousands of strains, and you've got this vibrant, very complex ecosystem. And single molecules are less likely to be effective in that space than a slight nudge of the entire ecosystem.
So talk us through these good bugs that we have on the skin, because I think hopefully most of my lovely Wellbeing audience here is clued up on the beneficial bugs, the trillions of them, and the beneficial fungi and viruses and all the things that we have living in our gut. and how we need to promote those and protect them, increase them with probiotics and feed them with all those lovely resistant starches and all of those good things, the plant diversity that the good bugs like inside us. What we've never really talked about here are the bugs on the skin. You say that we've got, billions of good bugs on the skin, is that right?
Yeah, definitely. And, in terms of net volume, the skin and the gut are perhaps not, there are more net number of microbes in the gut than there are in skin. But in terms of diversity, they're very, very similar. And in terms of the complexity of the ecosystem itself, it doesn't matter what our interface is with the world. The human body uses microbes as a first line of defense and as a barrier between us and the world around us. So, where does our skin end? Is it on the edge of our lip? Is it side, down, or is it all the way through the gut?
Yeah, of course, because we've got skin inside our mouths, haven't we? And skin lines the esophagus that's going down. Interesting.
And all the way through.
Yeah.
So it's all
skin on the inside and out. You never think about that, or I don't think about that really. Skin is surrounding the stomach, isn't it? It's everywhere. That skin tissue is everywhere, inside and out. You've got your ear, and the ear starts on the outside, covered in skin, but then it's going on the inside, still with skin.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
And each of those spaces has its own unique microbiome that has developed over, well, in the case of skin, humans have been upright and hairless for somewhere around 1.9 million years. These relationships have been crafted by evolution over, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of years. So I think we need to take a step back and look at skincare in terms of what we've evolved for, and how we can sort of end this war on germs, especially when it turns out that we're like...
The war on germs, that is really interesting. I was talking to a guy I know who's the head of intensive care in one of the big hospitals here, who also founded a charity called the Sepsis Trust. And, sepsis, very, very nasty disease. It can kill you in a matter of hours. And so his battle is always with the bad germs. And he was saying, in fact, I've recorded a podcast with him on it, about how concerned he is about the overuse of hand sanitizers. Because it's just, it's breeding a culture, perhaps, where we make superbugs more resilient. And the bugs are very clever, aren't they? They're very sneaky. So that's why you get MRSA and all these, superbugs being created that then become antibiotic resistant. And he was saying firmly, just wash your hands. Soap and water is much, much better than all these chemical, alcohol-based hand sanitizers.
Yeah, I mean, it's worth sort of running a thought experiment and going, okay, well, I'd like this patch of skin microbe-free. How am I going to achieve it?
Yeah.
You sure, perhaps I can apply 70% ethanol and kill everything. But realistically, what does that leave behind? It leaves behind an open playing field for the first opportunistic microbe that lands there. So instead of having your covering of your own skin microbiome, you've now created a space where opportunists are favored.
Yeah, vulnerable blank space with no defense.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So they've started using this in third-degree burns. So, that's the only way you can really kill all the microbes on skin, is to burn all the way down through the layers of skin and knock them all out. And then the big problem is that you have pathogens that are really, they're opportunistic and they would like to take advantage of that new space. And the new techniques, the old techniques, they were trying to use antiseptics to prevent that. But the fact is, you just can't hold on for long enough with an antiseptic, because new microbes are coming from underneath, and it just takes one, right? And it's logarithmic growth.
Right.
So what they've to do is they've started to use live probiotics. So they make a culture in the hospital, they apply a live probiotic, and they get control and complete coverage with a beneficial mic that can then hold on to that space and allow the burn to heal.
Amazing. So they're using probiotics and good bugs to help real serious issues like, third-degree burns.
Yeah, and it's an interesting space, I think, and we basically have used similar technology, to augment the skin microbiome on a daily basis. Yeah.
Now, I get sent a lot of skincare. And obviously, I had a big journey of my own in skincare. I started writing about wellness and well-being 35 or so years ago. And then after about 10, 15 years, I had a detour into skincare with a skincare company, which Kim, my good friend and business partner, and I set up, which we then sold in 2010. So I'm kind of out of that. But obviously, during that time, I became very connected with the formulatory part of skincare, how to make skincare products and writing about them and testing and all of that. And almost not a day goes by when I'm not sent a new skincare product to try and to feature. And my people here, my team, my lovely friends, my Instagram family, Facebook, YouTube family know that I'm very fussy when it comes to talking about brands and, rarely, to be honest, actually talk about skincare. Because I always think there's very few things that are new and noteworthy. And certainly to be a Liz Loves, it has to be something that I genuinely love and have tried. So I was sent this about 6 months ago. And to be honest, I thought, it's another skincare brand. This is the Rewilding pack, by the way, which I think is amazing, and I'll tell you why. But it sat on my shelf for a bit, and I thought, oh my goodness, it's a whole routine. You've got 5 lovely things here. I'll leave it till I go away. So I left it and I packed it when I went to Kenya. I was there for a few months earlier this year to see family and to do some work. And I thought that'll be a good time for me just to try this, because I wanted to give it a proper go, not using anything else. Just thought I'll give it an opportunity, because I read about it and I thought microbiome of the skin, that looks interesting. You obviously know what you're talking about. You've got a great background. You're not just shoving some probiotics into skincare, which is what a lot of people do. You've really kind of researched this properly as a proper microbiome brand. And I have to say, the first time I used it, I thought, this is a bit strange. The products feel different. And I thought, I'm not sure if I'm going to like this. But I became very quickly really hooked on it. And it definitely changed my skin. And that was why I was really keen to get you on here to talk about it, because I think for anybody who's looking for a bit of a change, a bit of I won't use the word reset, but a bit of a kind of a rejuvenation, if you like, a refresh, this is such an interesting routine to use and to try. And my son, Kit, joined me, and he is 19. He's had issues with acne. My skin's very dry, so I'm much older, so I'm very different skin type from him. But I was getting such interesting results with it, such good results, and his skin was a bit troubled. So I thought, I tell you what, Kit, why don't you try this? Try the whole thing, try all the 5 products. Let me know what you think, so I get another view. And he's now doing some modelling. He's got, some modelling contracts coming up, so he's really keen that his skin looks good. It's going to be really important for him. And honestly, I saw the difference in his skin. It was just remarkable when I was with him. And I said, Kit, your skin is looking smoother. It's looking clearer. What do you think? How do you enjoy using the products? And he said, he said, when I first used them, they felt a bit strange, but I really, really love them. And actually, do you know what? He stole them from me. So, and then I found them when I got home. I went into his bathroom, saw them virtually empty. So I thought, thanks, Kit. You've used them all up. But can you talk us through what you've put here? Because it really is different and very, very interesting. What have you put in here that makes these so special?
So I think, starting on our, starting with us, you spoke about troubled skin. I'm not entirely certain that stripping troubled skin's a great idea. Skin's very intelligent in its responses to its environment. And if you strip the oil every day, it responds by producing more.
Yeah.
So our philosophy on cleansing is to minimize damage to barrier function. Doesn't matter what the foaming product is. Yeah, and it's it doesn't matter what the foaming use, it will have at least a partial barrier dysfunction.
I've always said, even you can look this up online. I've said, for decades, I don't use anything that foams on my face, ever.
Yeah.
I've just never done it. The cleanser that I created was a cream-based cleanser for that very reason, and you've done the same here.
Yeah, I just think it seemed fairly obvious from a chemistry point of view, and when paired with the skin microbiome, it became even more obvious. The oils that your skin produces are the primary food source for that microbiome.
Oh wow, I never thought of it like that.
Yeah, oil is very, very highly nutritive. It's the most dense form of energy in both the animal and the plant world. We're secreting that for a very good reason, and it's to feed our microbes. I think it's maybe short-sighted to strip that off, but you do need, in the event that somebody's using color cosmetics, you do need to remove those.
And pollution and sweat and all of that. Modern day living puts hazards on the skin, doesn't it? That we do need to clear away.
Yeah, and I think so I guess we've taken maybe a slightly different approach to cleansing. On the toner, we've basically done a mist that's 1 million microbes per milliliter.
1 million microbes per milliliter.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Probiotic ones.
And I know it says to shake it before you use it. Give it a shake. Shake it up.
They do tend to settle, so it is an issue.
They go and hide at the bottom. You have to shake them up. Yeah. That's incredible. So with the cleanser, do you use this with a cloth or do you just rinse it away?
Either way.
Yeah. I love this in the shower first thing in the morning. Just getting it onto my skin, clearing away all the perspiration and dead skin cells from the night, and just jumping into the shower. I really, really like it. It doesn't strip my skin at all. My skin just feels clean, but really smooth.
Yeah, I think that tight feeling that surfactants give, I don't think that's entirely healthy or sustainable.
No. Being asked here, does it remove makeup? Absolutely. Yeah, really, really well. Even eye makeup, and I tested it around my eyes thinking, oh, this is going to really sting. It's not going to take off mascara, but it was brilliant. Didn't sting, and it removed everything really quickly and doesn't leave any residue. I have to say your formulas, speaking as somebody who's been a formulator, are very good. And very good for sensitive skin. I could imagine, I don't have rosacea. I'm eczema prone, but it's very much under control. But I would imagine that people with inflamed skin would have the soothing effect of this would be quite helpful.
Yeah. I think there is a first do no harm principle, if you know what I mean. It's like set a decent baseline that you can then tweak, sustainably, as opposed to stripping and starting again and believing that you can do better than millions of years of evolution.
That's so interesting. The way you explain it and talk about it is so different from any other explanation. And it makes such sense. I'm learning so much here, as I'm sure everybody is as well, that the sebum, the natural oils of the skin, are the skin food. I always thought that the sebum was there as a protective barrier, but the fact that it's there as food for our beneficial skin microbes, that's fascinating.
Yeah, it definitely performs both functions, but without those, if you look at any self-respecting skin microbe, they're all oil. They feed largely on oil.
Amazing.
So human beings have have developed very, very strange sebum, actually. So if you compare our sebum to any other animal, it's very, very weird.
Really?
And the main component is a fatty acid called sapienic acid, and it's called sapienic because
Homo
it's
sapien.
from Homo sapiens, yeah. So I mean, if we're expending a lot of energy and holding this weird gene set to produce these very weird oils, you would expect them to be doing something quite important. And if you look at hunter-gatherer communities, they don't suffer with any of the Western skin afflictions. They don't get acne at all. If you think to Kenya and if there are people living a traditional lifestyle there, you wouldn't have seen very many at all, if any, with acne.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, I have spent some time with tribes people in northern Kenya, particularly with Maasai, with Samburu. I've never seen any acne. I've never seen any skin issues, actually. I've never seen rosacea, eczema, psoriasis. I've just not seen it.
I was trying to explain to the Himba in northern Namibia, I was trying to explain what acne was, and the translator was like, no, we don't have a word for that, Yeah. So eventually we pitched across, and the guys were like, we've seen that before. Those German tourists get it. Oh, it's hideous.
Wow, they've only seen it on tourists.
Yeah,
on foreigners.
They've corroborated this with decent research now in both Papua New Guinea and in the Paraguay. There are some isolated tribes, and they've looked at thousands of people and not found a single pimple. So
fascinating. I'm being asked whether the range is good for men. All I can say is that my 19-year-old male got on with it brilliantly, and presumably this is something that you use on your skin, which is looking very good. I know people on Facebook can't see, but Trevor's skin does look extremely good. So we talked about the cleanser, the toner. This actually contains probiotics. Is that right?
Yeah. In that instance, we have to inactivate them. Otherwise they would continue to grow in there. But we do have other products where we don't inactivate them, and the microbes are left live. So they're and in that case they're actually 1 billion per milliliter live microbes.
So talk us through what else we've got, because there's a serum and an oil and a moisturizer. So this, I have to say, if you're interested in just trying it for a few weeks and just see, it's called Essie, Sam on Facebook, who's asking the question. The Rewilding kit, it's a 30-day Rewilding kit, and it's really, really interesting, and you may want to continue using it after that, or you may just use it as a sort of rejuvenation, rebalance, see which products you particularly enjoy. What would I use after the cleanser and the toner? Because obviously I understand that for those first two steps. What would go next? Would it be the serum or the moisturizer or the oil?
The moisturizer would generally go first, and then you'd top up with the other two.
Okay. It's a beautiful moisturizer, by the way. The moisturizer is always how you judge a brand, I think, by how well the moisturizer works and what it feels like.
Yeah. Because so that is one of our top selling lines.
Is it?
Actually? It's found traction in pretty much all of our markets. So and a lot of our sales are in the East.
Are they?
So yeah.
So what's in your moisturizer? It's fragrance free. It sinks in really easily. So it's a very good base for makeup or just on its own. Very good for guys as well. There's no fancy perfume with it. I love it. Why do I love it so much? What's it doing for my skin in technical terms?
So we're trying to mimic as best we can skin's natural oil. So the oil phase of that moisturizer has similar wax esters. And actually in future iterations of those products, we will start including sapienic acid itself. But that's probably about a year off, but it's an interesting diversion, and there isn't another brand at this point that has access to sapienic acid.
Fascinating. Have you got probiotics in here?
Yes, also inactivated, but also probiotics at around about 1 million. Yeah.
So if they're inactivated, why are they beneficial?
So we leave them whole. So if this is the bacterium, we leave the membrane in place. So it can still dock and interact with your skin's immune system.
Okay.
And it can still occupy a space on a skin cell. So a keratinocyte can be occupied and covered by these inactivated probiotics, leaving no space for new pathogens to come to attach.
Okay. Got you. Very interesting. No, honestly, Devon, it doesn't leave your skin greasy. It's really smooth. I don't know whether we've got anybody watching who's tried these as well as me who can feedback on what it actually feels like. Seriously, it's really genuinely good. Genuinely good. Lovely on the neck as well, because it's really nice and rich. So if you've got kind of a bit of a dry, crepey neck like me, it's really nice to put a nice extra layer on here.
We find if we get the lipid structure very similar to sebum, that you get fantastic penetration in general for all the products.
Yeah, I mean, it's just delivering goodness. It's lovely, and I love all your glass bottles as well. Okay, so then the serum. So serum, this is really interesting, and I'll show you what it looks like when you try it. So it's got a colour to it to start with. It's got a sort of a natural brownie colour. And the texture is really interesting. It's got a very good, what we call in the trade, slip, in that it slips really well on the skin. Now, would you use this on top of your moisturiser? Because normally I'd use a serum underneath.
Yeah, in the case of that particular product, it's not highly dependent on whether it goes before or after.
So it can be whichever you like. Okay.
Yeah, the primary active there is from a plant called the resurrection plant from northern Namibia.
I've heard of that. What a great name.
Yeah, well, I mean, you must see this stuff in the wild. It's the plants get sort of waist high, and in that desert it rains once every 2 years or so. So what this plant does is it looks dead. It sort of folds itself up, and if you walk up to it and snap a twig, it breaks completely dead.
Brittle. Mm-hmm.
As soon as it gets water, it reanimates and comes to life. And what we were interested in were the antioxidants that protect its DNA during that dormant time. So it produces huge amounts of one particular antioxidant, and that's the target of our extraction, and that's why that product actually has a slight color. It comes from the polyphenols that we extract from that plant.
Yeah. Amazing. So does it sort of resurrect the skin then in the same way that it does the plant?
Largely what we're after is a protection function. So it helps protect against UV, but it's mostly protecting against free radicals of any variety. Yeah.
So that's why then when we talk about fewer wrinkles, for example, you're getting this free radical protection, which we know is degrading skin over time and is causing the fine lines and the wrinkles to be increased. So could we expect to see a reduction in that?
Definitely, and we've tested it and we can show them, So I think that's, we come from the space of having organic as a primary offering, and it took quite a long time for me to realize that, as soon as you say organic, people infer that it's not that effective, or perhaps that there's great science behind it, but I had a German supervisor for my thesis, and geez, he certainly got the scientific method across quite violently.
Brilliant.
So I've applied that sort of scientific rigor the whole way through the brand lifespan. So we test on statistically relevant panels of women, and we make sure that the product's effective. Otherwise, we won't go. And the testing's all done in Germany, and it's done by an independent.
Brilliant. I love it. Evidence-based all the way. That's what it's got to be. You know, anecdotal is good too. Obviously, you want people to have enjoyed it and love it and recommend it personally. But I think to be statistically significant, you need to have your evidence-based testing as well. How long have you been going, out of interest? I know that you're relatively new in the UK, but it sounds as if you've got quite a history behind you.
Yeah, we launched for the first time in 2002. So
a long time, 20 odd years then.
Yeah.
You were really forward thinking, my goodness. Everybody else must have thought you were mad when you were putting gut bugs into skin cream. Did they think you were a real lunatic?
I guess maybe at that point I looked a little like a lunatic as well. I had very long hair, and maybe I think the market beat me into shape over about 10 years. And
you look very clean cut now, I have to say. And then the oil here. So there's the Protect oil. This is also a really delicious formulation. What have we got in here? Because this is a little bit clearer in colour. It's a very beautiful pale yellow, and it's so easily absorbed. I mean, it just disappears without a trace. It's lovely. Geez, that was a good find. So that tree occurs, sort of through the bottom end of Botswana, top end of Zimbabwe. And it's an oil called Zamania Oil. And, in terms of its structure, it is very, very weird. So it's got this strange triple, and it's, the idea there is that, so skin microbes are able to handle these strange oils because they're used to getting sebum. And sebum's so there we really were trying to offer similar metabolic hurdles to those microbes. So it's kind of a weird enough oil. It's a weird enough food to give a microbe so that only the good guys can use it. Really, that's the And you would use this when? Do you use this at night? Because traditionally, I think we're used to having facial oils at night.
Yeah, I mean, that generally would be used at night and at nighttime, but it also has that triple bond breaks and allows it to polymerize. So
what does that mean? What does that mean in layman's English?
Well, it can form quite a good protection layer in the top layers of skin. So particularly under UV and other, it can really help to protect skin through the day. So we advocate that people use it both morning and evening. Yeah.
Do you know, this is something that I'd be really interested to talk to you about, because I know in South Africa, obviously, you're not far from the equator. You have many, many more hours of sunshine than we do here in the UK, certainly, or in the Northern Hemisphere. And I know from friends in Africa and South Africa, there are high rates of skin cancer, solar keratoses, particularly on the face, because you're outside, particularly with guys who might not be used to wearing sunscreen or using hats or protecting themselves. And there seems to be this new thought that it's not always about sunscreen, about blocking, physically blocking the sun's rays with a mineral block or using a chemical synthetic filter, but it's about harnessing the skin's own mechanics to deal with UV radiation in a less damaging way. And it sounds as if some of these botanicals are doing this on the skin, in the skincare, because you talk about protection with an oil, but without an SPF.
Yeah, human beings got along just fine for the last 1.9 million years with 8 hours of sun a day. And if you look at lifespan and skin cancer rates in hunter-gatherer communities, they're exceptionally low or absent. And so you have, you have these, your skin microbiome itself producing even retinoids. So that help to protect you from the sun. And in our arrogance, we decide we can do better. Strip the microbiome,
strip the skin, and then shove a chemical on it to do a similar thing, or perhaps working in a different way. It's a very fascinating concept, I have to say. Certainly, I've been looking at some research into astaxanthin, which is the pink hyper antioxidant that you find in things like krill and pink algae and wild salmon and all of those things that are exposed very often, particularly in the sea, to huge amounts of UV with no protection. There's no shade. If you're a little bit of krill living in the sea, you can't hide. You're just getting sun all the time coming through the sea. And so they produce this pink antioxidant to protect them, and then we're seeing it more in supplements. And there is definitely a body of work being done to show that taking astaxanthin internally as a supplement, as a food supplement, is having a protective benefit on the skin as well.
Yeah, and I mean the same's true with blueberries and anything else with high carotenoids. They've shown that oral, even eating as few as 10 blueberries can have a marginal improvement on your, on your ability to withstand sun exposure the next day. Yeah.
How fascinating. You heard it here first, 10 blueberries a day. I've actually just bought some freeze-dried blueberries.
Perfect.
Wild blueberries, which are supposed to be even higher in antioxidants, because, probably where you are, you can go and gather them and they're really inexpensive, but, blueberries are really pricey here over in the UK. And I thought if I could buy a big bag, bulk bag, of freeze-dried, that's really interesting to know that I could just count out 10 of them and add them into a smoothie or a bit of yogurt or something and get some skincare benefit.
Yeah, you just got to look for anything with very high carotenoids in it. And there's definitely a skincare benefit with that. Yeah.
So which is your most popular product out of the whole range? Would it be the moisturizer? Would it be the serum or the toner?
Actually, that moisturizer, the Nourish moisturizer and that cleanser. So those are 1 and 2. Yeah. So
really?
the sensitive cleanser, the top by
this one.
by number.
When I first got them, I thought, I'm used to such big containers of things. The cleanser is relatively small, for 30 days. But actually, you don't need a lot, do you? A little bit really goes a long, long way. It's quite interesting how you've managed to concentrate it.
Yeah, it does. It does last definitely longer than 30 days. So the pack was put together with a 30-day rewild target. The idea.
That's the pack, and that's how it comes with all the instructions, so you can see. So is it something that you would say, any age, any stage of skin, you could try it for 30 days and you've got everything that you need there for, kind of cleaning, toning, moisturizing, serum, protecting, nighttime?
Yeah, the rewild concept is this idea of bringing nature's microbes back onto skin. Getting your skin back to its roots and back to your health. I think a lot of what we've done with the Western lifestyle has had a negative impact on skin in particular, and I think a lot of people could use a step back to try and get skin off the chemicals,
we think about that in our diet, don't we? But actually not so much. And I love your science behind it. And, I love the fact that it works. I love the gut microbiome science and research. I love your African botanicals. And I'm desperate to come with you on a foraging trip. Namibia is on my hit list. Those pink sands, the sand dunes of Namibia, I would love to go to.
It is breathtaking there, I must say. I've traveled a reasonable amount, and it's that is a spectacular space to spend time in.
Yeah. And fascinating too that that's where some of these high potency plants are coming from, because they're having to survive in such an arid environment and so many environmental stresses, which is producing these interesting phytochemicals to help the plants survive and stay nourished and plump and strong and all of that, which we can then harness and use on our own skin. I mean, the whole thing is completely fascinating.
Yeah, and the other thing that we found is substantial differences between wild harvested and farmed plants. So, you know, we have joint venture agreements with the indigenous tribes in the Konene Desert and in the Kalahari. So every time a product's sold, that community benefits.
Amazing.
But from our point of view, we also secure access to, you know, plants that have been under enormous stress and responded with very high levels of antioxidants.
Right.
So, you know, we get exceptionally high quality plants, and the community is remunerated fairly. Yeah.
And that is so important, and I think that's really worth highlighting. If you think about, I don't know, growing, any botanical, or say a seed that you're going to get the oil from. If you're going to grow it as a farm and you plant it and you give it lots of, you know, nice nutrients and lots of water and all the rest of it, the plant is not very stressed, is it? It's just growing, and it's, you know, you harvest it and you've got the oil and that's all great. If you're able to wild harvest it from an area where it hasn't had much water, very little nutrition, lots of strong sunshine, excuse me, then you are going to have a plant that's producing much higher levels of its protective phytonutrients. So although it'll say the same on the pack, it'll say, I don't know, borage seed oil, for example, or whatever it is, melon seed, Kalahari melon seed maybe, the fact that it's wild harvested, wild gathered, will be so much more potent than something that's just grown on a farm in the same place, but is just farmed rather than wild. I hadn't actually thought about that in those terms. So thank you for spelling that out, making it clear as to why it's better. And actually, you know, if you're going to spend money on skincare, let's spend money on the right stuff. You know, let's actually, it's like I always say it with supplements, you know, don't go on price, go on performance, because that's how you get value. That price doesn't always mean value. Value is something different.
I think do less better is a reasonable.
Love that.
Rule of,
you could do everything in life. Actually, you could apply that to do less better. It's a very good mantra. I might have to put that on my wall somewhere to remind me. Just before we go, Trevor, I'm just being asked a couple of questions here about eye care. Presumably all of these you can use safely around the eyes. I mean, I did, certainly. And do you need to add in anything for eyes, or is this actually going to be sufficient all around here?
We do have a few specific eye care products, you know, depending on the concern that somebody's trying to address, you know, whether it be dark rings or
yeah, that's what I need.
Or wrinkles. So we have there are three ranges, and then we have a premium range called the Plus line, and you know, there we really have targeted crow's feet and wrinkle concerns. So those have, again, decent clinical trials behind them.
Brilliant. Brilliant. How amazing. Thank you so much for giving up so much of your time to explain it so wonderfully well. And I'm so thrilled to be able to chat to you directly, you know, not quite in real life, but almost in real time, live. And I hope that everybody certainly considers, if you want to rebalance your skin, you know, this is unlike anything else. We're talking about really rejuvenating the skin's microbiome for all skin types and getting those microbes back in balance. And I personally saw great results when I used it, and so did Kit. And our skin is very different. You know, I'm late 50s, very dry, sensitive, eczema prone, mature skin. Kit is 19, you know, male, acne prone. Won't thank me for saying that, but you know, his skin is really clear now, thankfully. So if he gets that modelling contract, we can thank you. I would expect a royalty if I were you. Lovely. Oh, I think we've frozen here. But I think that was probably a very good note to end on. And don't forget, if you want to check it out, I highly recommend that you go over to the website and have a look. It is Essie Skincare. Essie Skincare UK. No, it's not. Sorry, it's essieskincare.co.uk. If you want the website here in the UK, Essie, which is ESSE, .co.uk. And oh, Instagram has just gone, so it's just us on Facebook left. But that was a good way to end anyway, wasn't it? Very, very good indeed. Loved all that. Just to say, to finish off, a few other things, obviously, that are very helpful for skin and for microbiome is looking at what's going on the inside. And I know I talk about it a lot, but the collagen, as we age, is super, super helpful. So Ingenious Beauty Collagen, these are the capsules. Fiona, you've just ordered. Okay, let me know how you get on. I'd be really, really intrigued to know how you get on. I take my Ingenious capsules every day, love it. And you do, of course, that's feelingingenious.com, which is their website, and that's Liz Loves. And you get 15% on that. Just to say also, recap of my live with BioCare. So last week we were talking about energy. And these were, I had lots of questions about it because these were the two supplements that we talked about. We talked about Gluco Complex, which was very good for energy. So if you really need that boost, and it's got the adaptogenic herbs, the rhodiola, the ginseng, the reishi mushroom, really, really good. So that's BioCare. And then for those battling with weight and sugar cravings, then this is the one, the Gluco Complex. Really interesting. And this is the one that contains the chromium as well as the B vitamins for blood glucose management and energy support. Okay, so BioCare, thank you very much, Rachel, for popping the link on. 15% you get with your Liz Loves code. So that is just about it for today. For those who have been asking, particularly on Instagram, then my little earrings here are my wild roses. And my wild roses, you can see actually in the copy of the Earle Wellbeing magazine. So that is the whole wild rose collection, which is there, which I don't think you need a code for actually, but there is a 25% off, yeah, on all of the wild roses. You don't need a code. So if you're interested, then head over to lizelljewelry.com, and that I think runs until the end of June. So you've got a little bit of time if you want to go and have a look at that. Thank you very much, Rachel, for putting the link up. And just to say also, the magazine, if you want to subscribe to the magazine, there has never been a better time. Now, I'm sorry, Linda, I think Instagram has failed us. So I'm glad that we've got, that's why it's so important to have two live platforms. So we've got Instagram and Facebook always. So always remember that if one goes down, you can hop over to the other. And of course, everything does get uploaded onto YouTube. So if you would like to watch anything on catch up, then please do head over to YouTube because we always post there. And just to say before I go that there is the most amazing subscription offer on the Earle Wellbeing magazine at the moment. I think it's worth something like £58, and it is these two wonderful Great British body products. You've got the Olverum Firming Body Oil. I used it this morning from top to toe. I absolutely love it. And then the Firming Body Moisturizer. Really, really lovely products. Completely free for direct debit subscribers on the Earle Wellbeing magazine. If you're a new subscriber, that's the most perfect time to subscribe because you get these amazing gifts free. If you want to have the gift, which is worth £58, then that is a really lovely thing to have for yourself, for the summer, for summer skin, all over, for body firming and smoothing, then you can just gift the magazine subscription to somebody else and have the gift yourself. So if you've got somebody who's got a birthday coming up, or a thank you present, or I don't know, end of term teacher gifts, all of those kind of things, great thing to give is a subscription to the magazine, and you get your subscription gift. All you need to do is, if you're online, is you need to put in your details of where to send the gift to. Or if you're talking to Warners on the phone, just let them know that you'd like to have the gift sent to you rather than give it to whoever is subscribing. But you can do it whichever way you like. That is it for today. I'm going to be back on Thursday. Now, just a little note for your diaries on Thursday live. And that is that the live is going to be at 6 o'clock in the evening. So it's not a lunchtime live on Thursday. It's going to be 6 o'clock in the evening. And the reason for that is that I'm going to be joined by the Bed of Nails founder. We're going to be talking about lying on beds of nails and why that can be so good for chronic pain, migraine, inflammation, fibromyalgia, all of that. And she is based in Los Angeles. So in order to get the time zones right, we had to do it later here in the UK. So 6 o'clock in the evening if you'd like to watch that live. But of course, you can always watch it on Catch Up later on. That's just about it for today. Thank you so much for being with me. It's been lovely to chat to you all.